Good evening and welcome to Fairly Gruesome Tales. I'm your host and storyteller, Ginger Lanier. I have some stories tonight that may delight you or disturb you or both. The first story is called The Three Army Surgeons and it's by the Brothers Grimm. This is from fairytales.com and adapted by G. Lanier. Boasting. It's never a good thing, is it? Well, in this story, we'll see firsthand why not. Enjoy. Three army surgeons were travelling about the world, practicing their art, when they came upon an inn where they wanted to spend the night. "We were roaming about the world, practicing our art," they told the innkeeper. The innkeeper says, "Show me what you can do." So the first one says he's going to cut his own hand off and heal it again the next morning. The second one says he's going to cut out his own heart and replace it in the morning. And the third one says he's going to tear out his own eyes and heal them again the next morning. "Well," says the innkeeper, "if you can do that, you've learned everything." Now the three surgeons had a little bottle of salve that they would rub on themselves and it would heal their parts back together again, and they kept it with them everywhere they went. So they cut off the hand, heart and eyes, put it on a plate, gave it to the innkeeper, who then gave it to a servant girl to put in the cupboard and have for safekeeping. So the servant girl had a secret lover, and he was also a soldier. So he comes over after everyone goes to bed, and he's hungry. So the servant girl opens the cupboard up, gives him some food, and in her haste leaves the cupboard open. Well, they go off and eat and are chattering away. Meanwhile, a cat comes in, sees the cupboard open, and takes the hand, heart and eyes and runs off with it. Well, when the servant girl comes back, she realises her mistake. She says, "Oh no, what am I going to do? What's going to become of me in the morning?" "Easy now," says her lover. "I'll help you." So he says, "Hey, there's a thief hanging out there on the gallows. I'll go cut his hand off, bring it to you." "Which hand is it?" "The right one," she says. So he goes out, cuts the hand off, brings it back, puts it on the plate. Next, "Where'd that cat go?" So he finds the cat, that cat, and he takes the eyes out, puts them on the plate. Now there's only one left, and it's the heart. He says, "There's some pigs down there in the cellar, hanging out for food. I'll just take one of them." So he goes and gets a heart from one of the pigs in the cellar, puts it on the plate, bing, bang, boom, Bob's your uncle, and he's got everything there. So they put it in the cupboard, he goes home, she goes to bed. The next morning, the three surgeons get up, and the first one puts his hand back on, rubs some salve, and it's healed. And the next one takes the eyes, puts them in his head, rubs some salve on it. Wow, they're back. And the third one takes his heart, puts it back in, rubs some salve, and it's healed. "Wow," said the innkeeper, "that's truly miraculous. I'm going to tell people about you far and wide." So they pay the bill and they're off on their journey. After a while, they start having some problems. The one with the pig's heart starts rooting around in the dirt like a pig. And the other one with the cat's eyes starts rubbing his eyes. He says, "Comrades, what's the matter? I can't see." And the third one, who had the thief's hand, well, he starts stealing people's money. "I can't help it," he says. Well, they realise they ain't got the hand and that heart and eyes back. So they go back to the innkeeper, who must have tricked them, right? And he says, "Wasn't me. It must have been the servant girl." Well, the servant girl saw them coming, didn't she? She went out the back door and she never came back. Well, the 3 surgeons were so angry. They said, "You better give us all your money or we're going to burn your house down." So he gives them everything he's got and they go on their way. Now, he gave them enough for the rest of their lives, but they weren't happy about it. They would have rather had their own organs. The end. Wow. I wonder if they learned their lesson. I wonder if it humbled them. This next story is about vanity. And it's called The Flayed Old Woman by Giambattista Basile. And it's from letstalkstory.com and adapted by G. Lanier. Enjoy. Long ago, a king lived across the road from 2 miserable old sisters. Age had deformed their limbs, and wrinkles covered their entire bodies. They were so ashamed that they didn't want to go outside and let anyone see them. Now the king never regarded their presence at all, until one day the elder sister was singing, and for some reason her voice was still youthful. And the king was enchanted by her voice. And he went across the road and knocked on the door and demanded to see this beauty with this beautiful voice. Well, of course they couldn't come to the door. They were ashamed. And so the eldest sister said in her smallest voice, "If you return in 1 week, I will show you 1 finger." Well, the king was so enchanted that he agreed to these terms and left. The sisters spent the entire week trying to get 1 finger to look youthful, and when the king returned in a week, they had 1 finger. So the eldest sister stuck her finger through the keyhole to the king. Oh, he was in love. And he said, "I demand that you spend the night with me in my bedchamber." Well, the eldest sister said, "Oh, my dear Grace, I am honored to spend the night with you in your bedchamber, but I am just a peasant and I cannot be looked upon. I will do so under one circumstance. If you get rid of all the candles in the castle, and then I won't have to worry about being seen." Well, the king was so charmed that he agreed to these terms, and he said he would see her at nightfall, and so he leaves. Well, the sisters toiled and worked tirelessly until nightfall. They took her skin and pulled it back with twine to get her to be smooth again, and she put a cloak on and went over at nightfall to the castle. And in the darkness, she was led into the bedchamber. The king searched for her in the darkness and pulled her close. Now, he was a wealthy man, and so he doused himself in strong perfume, and he couldn't smell her horrible stench. After their encounter, the king took a candle and lit it because he wanted to gaze upon the face of his lover. But he was horrified. "Guards!" he shouted, and the guards came and they seized her, and they were bringing her over to the window even though she was begging for mercy, and they threw her out of it. Well, miraculously, she did not die on the rocks below, but she got caught in a tree. Well, she was flailing away and crying, and the fairies of the forest came to see what was the commotion. And once they saw her in her plight, they laughed and laughed. Oh, they don't remember a time when they had laughed so much. Oh, they were so delighted that they decided to give her gifts for her laughter. And so they gave her beauty and wealth, servants and status, and they made her a beautiful, youthful woman. Well, when the king saw her, he thought she was the most beautiful woman in all the land, and he proposed to her on the spot, and of course she agreed. Well, she became the queen in the court, and she summoned the sister that lived across the street, the old woman. So she sat next to her in court, and she kept asking her, "Sister, how did you do this?" And the queen said, "Not now. Eat, and I will tell you later." But the younger sister kept asking the question, "How? How did you do this? How did you make yourself look like this?" And the king saw them speaking and said, "Is there something wrong?" And the queen said, "No, sire, she was just asking if there was dessert." Well, the sister wouldn't stop. And eventually the queen snapped. "I flayed myself," she snapped. Well, the younger sister, not really understanding what happened, said, "We suffered together. I will not let you enjoy this moment alone." And she left. The younger sister went to a barber surgeon and demanded that he give her what she desired. "Flay me," she said. And well, the barber surgeon, he couldn't do such a thing. It was a terrible thing, and he said no, but she would not relent. She just kept insisting until he had to do it. So he chained her arms to the chair, and he took his largest blade and started down her back, cutting her skin open. And she did not scream. She just sat there with her eyes closed, repeating her mantra. "Pain is beauty. Beauty is pain." Until the blood pooled around her and the light disappeared from her eyes. The end. Well, I doubt she learned her lesson either. I hope that you learned something tonight, and I hope that you won't have too many nightmares. Thank you for joining me tonight for my concert of slightly gruesome fairy tales, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.